One of the things that I've been working very hard in understanding the whole Fuji lineup is its continuous autofocusing capabilities. One of the things that I've discovered recently is that a camera like the X100F, if I put it in the bright sunlight, it's still going to give me some kind of like a focus hunting on continuous autofocus with face detection, just like it's doing right now in the shade. Previously, what I've discovered was that if you don't have face detection, you put it wide open on the X100F and you're in the shade, you kind of get some focusing. Of course, the best way to get perfect focusing is to have some type of remote do it manually. And I can do that. That's not a problem. But there are certain times where, I want to stand back a little bit. And of course, the camera is trying to figure out where I am. It detects my face, and right now there's concrete over here in the front. It's shining a pretty good amount of light. There's a building over here that's kind of bright. So it really isn't too much about the light so much as it is the system. I thought maybe it's because it has too many contrast points. It doesn't sort of know where, where the subject is. But more and more, I'm thinking it's the hardware. Putting the camera in different situations, it doesn't seem like it really is a software issue, or else they would have fixed it a long time ago. And we're talking about continuous autofocusing in video. So how can we figure out if something like another Fuji camera does a better job? Well, I have the X-H1, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the X-H1 and I'm going to set it basically same conditions. Right now it's at 1/60th of a second, f9, 200 ISO with no ND filter. And you can see throughout this conversation, it's been focus hunting a little bit, and that's typical with the X100F when you're filming. And if I get out of the way, sometimes it doesn't even focus on the foreground. It takes a little while. Now, definitely the X-H1 kind of did that a little bit. It took a little time to focus, but there wasn't a lot of focus hunting. Very rarely did it do that. And I know that I was in this spot doing some testing firmware that is not 1.1, and it was having a lot of issues in the shade when you had it in F-log or 400%, what do they call that, DR, right? Dynamic range. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to put the X-H1 with the same similar conditions and see if there's any focus hunting that's happening in the background. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, now let's try the X-H1. Now, same setting, 1/60th of a second, f9, 800 ISO because it's in F-log. 16 millimeter lens actually, and I have small HD focus. So I did a little preliminary test on this, and face detection as well, and I was a bit disappointed. I can see some focus hunting going on. This is a real serious issue with Fuji cameras. Now, this is of course F-log. We're at probably 400% dynamic range, so we haven't finished the test yet. So we are going to do it where we're going to do it at 400%, and then we're going to do it with no F-log, 100%. I'm pretty confident at 100% it's doing a good job. But right now, I mean, first of all, the video is beautiful. And I don't remember. Yeah, I'm doing 4K. Well, no wonder. The video is really nice at 4K. Of course, the X100F doesn't do 4K. So I'm going to have to scale it up a bit, but it does a pretty good job. But right now, looking at the small HD, I can see those trees going back and forth like a Christmas tree trying to focus. That's not a good analogy, I know. But it looks like the trees have Christmas lights because I have it on focus peaking. Now, one of the things that I want, for the camera to do is to just follow my face, follow focus, and it's detecting my face actually very nicely. All the Fuji cameras do that, but for right now at F-Log, it just doesn't cut it with the firmware, with the new firmware. Okay, and if it's doing this, then I'm not sure what type of improvement it has. That's a little bit disappointing. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to get rid of F-Log. We're going to put it at 400%. And then let's see where we're at with that. It looks like, no, it's still going back and forth. All right, I'll come back. Okay, so this is a Turner, and yes, it is at DR, right? Dynamic range of 400. All the settings are the same, 1/60th of a second, f9, exposure compensation is around 2, or it is exposed to over, and it's ISO 800. And I can tell very easily with the small HD that the background is going back and forth. It's able to detect my face. And now that I'm remembering, it definitely was the same before firmware 1.10. So the whole idea about this test is X100F, XT2, are they similar in terms of continuous autofocusing with face detection? At this point, it looks like they are sort of the same. Now when I get back home, I'm going to find out if it focuses on my face a little bit better. I have a feeling that the X-H1 does focus a little bit better. Kind of like sticks to the exposure of my face, because I do remember that with F-Log and at 400 dynamic range, it was a bit soft, and it took a little while for it to get in to like focus. Now I'm going to get out of the way. I remember I did a test like this where I got out of the way. It focuses towards the back over there, the foreground. Doesn't mean it is going to focus, because it might be a little too bright. I'm going to move back in, picks up my face, and it looks like it's picking up my face. So let's try no dynamic range and see where we go from there. I think it was at 200 ISO. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, so you can see some focus hunting. Yes, there is. I didn't think there would be that much. Now again, when I get home, I'll definitely look at that. I think probably there was still a little bit off, focus hunting, but the face was the thing that really didn't focus right. I'm gonna have to look at that video one more time, because even at 100% dynamic range, right now it's pretty steady, but you can see that it's flickering a little bit in the grass, but not as bad. There it goes, it did flicker there a little bit. That is totally weird. Kind of disappointing, as a matter of fact. Okay, I'm gonna look at this video just to see what it is that I'm seeing more in the viewfinder. All right, let me see. I'll come back. Okay, I did see that there are, there are many focus hunting issues with dynamic range of 100 with face detection. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to get rid of face detection, and I'm going to have the focus element, or the focus, right around this area right here. Now, hopefully, I don't get to see so much focus hunting, but now that I'm looking at it, it looks like I do see some focus hunting. Yep, I do see it. That is really weird. And this is at 100% dynamic range. It shouldn't be doing this at all. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to see if I can make the focus square smaller, and I want to see what type of movie mode I'm in. Alright, I'm going to come back. The focus square smaller. I do have a focus check on, but you can see it's still doing the focus hunting. This is not something I expected with this firmware update. That's really weird. When I'm filming like birds with video, I don't see that focus hunting a lot. Then again, I'm using a different lens, but I'm not expecting this much focus hunting at all. Even at f9, you would think that it would be pretty solid. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to 5.6 instead of 9. No, it still is focus hunting a little bit. The wind is moving the tripod a little bit, but that, yeah, you can still see it. Even if I go back a little bit like this, you can see it really trying to focus. Wow. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to move it into the sun. I'm going to put it at probably f16 or something. Let's go to the sun. See what it does. Now when I take some video on birds, it's usually in the sun. Now we're at f16 and the exposure compensation is at minus a third. That's funny. Now it's almost zero. And there's no way I can tell because it's too bright. But it looks like it's not going back and forth. I don't see it so much. Interesting, isn't it? As long as I stay within the square, I should be focused. I think it dipped there a little bit. Funny. What I'm doing is going to put face detection on right now and see how that looks. Alright, be right back. Dynamic range is at 100. Now I'm face detection. With face detection, again, it's really hard to see if it's focus hunting or not. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move a little bit over here and see if it's capturing me there. And I'm going to move a little bit over here, see if it's capturing me. I think it does do a great job if it's really in the sun with no dynamic range and I know it'll do it in F-Log without the firmware update. I think this is expected, I think, from the camera when the sun is really bright and you're not, you know, in the shade. It's unfortunate if that's the case. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to check this piece of the video, see if it's detecting my face without so much focus hunting. And I'm pretty sure it doesn't do focus hunting at all. Could be wrong. Alright, so I'm going to go back and in the shade. Alright, I'm back. I'm not focused. First of all, I'm in AFS, single mode. I'm using a remote. I just turned on the camera and focused on the trees because I wasn't in front of the camera. The moment I lightly press the remote, I'm in focus now. So let's talk about the conclusion here. It looks like continuous autofocusing with face detection under the shade is not a very good option. Now, if you have it on continuous AF without face detection, might be a little bit better. Of course, single mode, the way I have it here, and press this button, great, awesome. Manual mode, if you want to do a manual mode and measure, that's an option too. The moment I move myself in the sun, things work hunky-dory. Let me see if I can focus a little bit better there. No. There. I don't focus. The only way I can tell if I'm in focus, I'm using a small HD and I'm looking at the peaking. And even then, I'm still debating if I am in focus or not. Maybe there. That's the problem. If nobody's behind the camera, there's no way I can tell if I'm in focus or not. Sure, I can use one of these remote things and hopefully I am in focus. So this is a very disappointing thing with the firmware update. I don't know if there's improvement in terms of locking focus a little better. I don't know, if there's going to be any improvement in the future. Definitely, ever since I got my first Fuji camera, probably way back in 2012 or something like that, maybe a little bit later after that, focusing for video, it has not been a #1 priority. This camera, which is the X-H1, should have that. It is better in focus, and it looks, it's beautiful. It has a beautiful color palette. The color science is really nice. I like it. But more and more, the X-H1 is what's so great about it compared to the X-T2? What advantages do you get now that X-T2 has that firmware update, whatever that is for, right? Now you have the image stabilization, which is awesome when you can take pictures, and that's something that I do appreciate about the X-H1. But in terms of video, Fuji has a lot more to do. I've seen other cameras like the Sony Alpha 7 III. Somebody has one that I know of, and seems to be focusing pretty well. Now, I haven't tested it on face detection or continuous autofocusing, but it does look like it locks focus pretty well. I don't know if it has to do anything with, it might have more phase detection points, less contrast detection points. I don't know. I don't even know if I don't even know how many phase detection points this has, or if it does it really make a difference? More and more, I feel like the camera needs more improvement. There's a lot of issues to it, and those issues are popping up more and more. Now this is bleeding more into what I'm doing right now in terms of taking pictures of birds. Taking pictures with birds with the 100-400 I'm noticing also that I'm not hitting the focus. Even when the bird is pretty close and I have it on continuous autofocusing, it doesn't seem to be hitting very hard, like really sharp pictures. Perhaps it's because I'm doing continuous autofocusing. Maybe I should do it in single mode. I don't know. But the camera has to be more refined. Yes, this camera is not camera for sports or for wildlife. I get it. Uh, Nor historically has Fuji been the best camera for autofocus. As it's moving forward in the future, it has been improving more and more. Color science is awesome. The build is awesome. The controls are awesome. It's not overwhelming. I think the next thing that Fuji needs to do is pump up the megapixels on the APS-C. 24 is not really cutting it. 16 was okay. 24 was great. But now that I'm thinking about it, 24 really doesn't cut it in terms of, like, you want to have, more resolution at, let's say, 200%, and then focusing is something that they need to address. Hopefully these things will, hopefully there'll be an improvement with the XT3. I don't know. Does that mean that I'm going to get an XT3 instead of having the X-H1? No, probably not. Now the really only big difference between, to me, on the X-H1 and the XT2 is probably the size and the IS, the image stabilization. That's probably it. Pretty sure there's somebody out there that's going to argue differently, but for now, I think that the system still needs to develop and grow. It really isn't for wildlife photography. It's trying to become something more in videography, but it doesn't seem to handle even in the shade conditions for continuous autofocusing with face detection or even continuous autofocusing. And I know that as a professional, continuous autofocusing is a joke. Professionals don't do that. But more and more, the prosumer, professional, high-end user, they're all converging into one thing, and that is ease of use. There is no reason why cameras can't be easy to use. And so I think that's going to be the next level in photography: ease of use, less menus to deal with, lighter weight, better optics, better focus, longer running times in video, and better image quality. The image quality is pretty good. I am pretty impressed by it. So hopefully a new firmware update will come up sooner than later. I know a lot of people are raving about the version 1.1 firmware on this camera. My opinion is that it did a little bit of improvement, but it's not nailed yet. But that's my opinion. Hopefully you have better results with it. I know that I've gotten better hit rates in taking pictures, better than what I was before. Video wise, in the shade, I don't think it has improved as much as taking pictures. But then again, this is just one trial. There are many settings on the camera, and I hope that I did get it right, and it's something that will add to the knowledge of how these cameras really work in the field. All right, so I'll be seeing you later. Bye-bye.